Hi everybody, this is Christy. I am the Intimate Warrior. I thank you so much for stopping by, and as always, I send you love. Well, it's been, I guess, a few months here, 9 months anyway, since I have made my last video, and even before that, I guess it was pretty sparingly here throughout the last couple of years. And let me just go ahead and, since I'm talking about not being here on a consistent basis here or on a daily basis here for you guys, I really want to apologize for that. But from my perspective and what I am learning about myself, it is completely necessary to get to where I am going. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to always be here on a daily basis because I don't know what the future is going to hold. I know that I have just learned something. And I should have learned this, I guess, a long time ago maybe. And I could have been here or made more videos. Again, I don't know. But because of everything that I experience, which is why I am so apologetic, or going to be so apologetic, and I hope you understand how sorry I really truly am for it. I've gone through this my entire life. I've made so many videos for you guys explaining how I have been abandoned by so many people that I have loved throughout my entire life since I was a little girl. And it's still going on. And you can probably hear it, a little bit of crackiness in my voice, because it's still going on. I will be, 49 in a couple more months, and it's still happening to me. But I'm learning every single time that it happens. We're going to repeat these things until it is clear, until we have learned enough about our own suffering. And that is what it's about. Our own suffering. And one specific, situation that I have mentioned so many times through my journey here on YouTube, and I have shared with you guys, is how my mom is constantly abandoning me. So it happened before the holiday season, and I haven't seen her since before that time now. So I guess maybe, I don't know if it was October or November that it happened. And I haven't seen her. I've spoken to her on the phone because I have reached out to her to make amends again, like I have done in the past. And, if you're that type of person who is always getting hurt and you're always reaching back out, you're probably in your mind, I'm doing it again. I'm going to be the one to apologize, or I'm going to be the one to forgive, and it's just going to happen over and over again. Well, if you hear how you speak about those things in your life, your animosity or your regret, your judgment about it all, that's a clue that there's still a whole lot more that's going to need to be healed. And so what happened between my mother and I, it's so silly and childish. It really is. But, when people are hurt, people take things out of context, no matter what it is. I know that when I wake up not feeling rested, I am easily agitated. I know that if I am not feeling good, I am agitated. And it's not necessarily about, oh my gosh, you're always doing this to me, whoever's doing it. And we'll just use my husband because, we live together. You're always doing this to me. You never learned about it. Well, it's not a big deal when we are feeling good. So is it really an issue? No, it's only an issue when we are not feeling our best. But still, it's something that's inside of us that's deeply seated that still needs to be seen. It needs to be understood. So I get it. I truly get it. What took place was taken out of context because both my mom and I didn't sleep the night before, and we both probably should have just stayed home because of that. And I ended up saying, you know what, let's just not she was talking about something, and about my sister, I think, and it shifted to my dad, who is somebody who has not been in my life since he divorced my mom when I was 18. And now my dad has cancer, and I don't know how much longer he has here on this earth. But so she started talking about my dad, and I was like, in my mind, I really don't want to hear about it. So I said, you know what, Mom, let's just not talk about Dad, because we're probably going to say something that both of us are going to misunderstand. Well, that in itself changed everything. And she was upset. She got upset because I said that. And in her mind, she heard I was standing up for my dad. I was taking my dad's side. And I added to her. And I was like, I don't want, because she got upset. I was getting upset now. We were feeding off of that. And I said, one, I don't want to hear anything bad about my dad. I don't. I'm his daughter, and that's it. I haven't chosen to be with my dad. I haven't chosen, I've been here for you, Mom, for all of these plus years, 20 plus years now. I'll be 49 soon. I've been here with you, Mom. I've been helping you, Mom. And so I didn't choose my dad. He's been out of my life and here until recently, the last couple of years, when I found out he had cancer. And his cancer has come back into bone cancer. So he's living a terrible life. And I said, on top of it all, he's not doing too well. He might be dying here soon. So I don't want to hear anything bad about Dad. And of course, I know that made her feel even worse. So I didn't make the situation better. I just kept going too, because I was upset. And I was tired. And then I was upset that she was upset. And, I did try, like I always do. I do try to always go back and make amends. I tried that day when I took her back. And then she just kept telling me that all I do is cut her off. And I don't know what that is a part of. But I know it's still a part of her feeling as if I'm choosing my dad. And I don't understand that part. But we haven't seen each other physically. And I'm not sure if we ever will. I don't know. But we talk now on the phone, and that's been it. And it's only been a couple of weeks, I believe, since we have actually started our communication back. So my mom has been somebody who it's so easy for her to choose to abandon me. And I always try to see this type of situation, especially when it comes from my mom, how I don't want to be. I don't want to be this person. And, we're supposed to treat people how we want to be treated. But that's easier said than done. Because why? We have so much pain inside. And it's hard to be a better person when we have so much pain inside. And when we're dealing with it so frequently, especially with people who are so close to us, whether it's our parents or our husband or wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, or children in our lives, whatever it may be, best friends, people who we always see frequently. And so I use that, my mom and our relationship, on how to be a better mom to my son. I mean, in my head, and it's always so difficult. In my mind, I'm like, why is it so hard for her to walk away? Why? I mean, why is it so easy for her to walk away? Why? And I don't understand that, because I can't imagine anything. And I tell you this, I think I've spoken about this even the last time my mom was mad at me. When I think this, there's nothing that my son can possibly do to make me upset. I will be tested about that statement. My heart is going to be tested. My strength is going to be tested. The spirit is going to be tested, tempted, and to see. And of course, that's what took place. And this has been, a while back, and I have to remember, hold up. Remember what took place between you and your mom. So now you need to settle yourself down, Christy, and not respond so quickly. And understand that somebody else is going through something. To be a real good person means that you can shut down your ego. And I apologize, I did put my do not disturb on, but for some reason it ended up stopping my video. So that's what it really means. When we, a lot goes into play when we are trying to be good people, righteous people, holy people. Now, those words are even different, mean something differently within the minds of every individual. Being a righteous or a holy person to a friend can mean that you are, trying to be a good, you think you're better than somebody else. And that's a judgment, okay? And even for us in our own mind can think, what does it really mean to be righteous and holy? Honestly, when we are trying to be righteous and holy, it means that we are attempting to always be in alignment with Spirit. In alignment with Spirit. That we are purifying ourselves of our ego and our pain. Temptation and our pain. And that's easier said than done. Because there is still so much. I have been watching The Chosen. And this is, I guess, a series that has been out for a long time. But, for some reason, not for some reason, but, everything happens for a reason. We know that. And it's been a couple of months, and I have just been kind of binge watching it. Not every day, but, every time I get a sitting moment, I'm watching the series. And I've watched it, I think, it's been my third time now. And season 4 is in the theaters, and I'm waiting for it patiently to get on the app so I can, binge watch it at my own leisure as well, and really get into those, oh my goodness, those awesome scenes that they have been having. And so your path is going to take you places that you should be at. And are you avoiding certain things? So I know what I avoid. I know things that I do avoid in my life. And it's something that I have brought up in my past videos. And one thing we all avoid is exercise. Some people avoid it more than others. It's something that I used to do where I ended up losing over 100 pounds and getting really, really fit. I became that beach body coach. And finally, I was at a weight that I was really happy with. But even exercising became something that had a control over me. I needed it. I understood that I needed it because if I didn't have it, I was insane. Back then I was dealing with lots and lots of stress, taking care of my mother-in-law who was still living back then, having trying to repair a marriage, my son moving out and, growing up and moving out, me trying to get healthy finally and, get rid of all of this disease and all kinds of things were going on. So my mentality, I was overstressed. Years and years of not doing anything. It went from not doing anything to constantly having to exercise and take care of myself. So it became, if you will, like an addiction. We'll replace one thing with something else. And you have to really understand, it's not about what we are doing, it's about why we are doing it. And we hear it all the time, and we know this really deep inside, that it is good to exercise. It really is good. So much benefit comes out of it. For the most part, we do it to look a certain way and to fit in to society, right? Isn't that why we do it? And even though we know that we're going to feel better, we are really only doing it to be loved, be accepted, and to be sexy, beautiful, handsome, whatever it is. And that is okay too. It is okay. But we have to decide, we have to choose, even in exercising, who is in control? Who's in control of this? So, I ended up stopping my exercising because, I went from doing it for 1 to 2 hours a day to kind of like just giving up. And it wasn't that I gave up. I just felt so heavy all of a sudden. Something wasn't right? I didn't feel right with it. So I stopped. And it was my choice. But even back then, I'm like, well, maybe God's making me stop. No. That was a wrong a way of seeing things. But it's my path of learning, okay? We tend to blame first, then we find some greater understanding, and then we begin the process of change. So I've exercised, here and there throughout the years, and I've tried to come back to it, but I've still had an animosity towards it. And that's the problem. Moving or removing the animosity to every single thing, that judgment to the things. And that's what we're attempting to do. So you can still be exercising. You can either be tempted to exercise by the devil, if you will, or you can be urged, encouraged, supported by or honoring God by exercising. And only you can figure this out on your own. Now, if you really understood the reasons why exercising or movement is so highly essential to your path, you would probably do it more frequently. Now, even for myself, I know my asthma has been good, then bad, good, then bad. I've had COVID twice, so good, then bad, good, then bad. And I'm like, this has got to get better without medication. This has to, one day get better. And I keep trying things. I'm getting my nutrition has been awesome ever since I, stopped exercising. So that's not an issue. Well, let's add these supplements and let's see. And it's not just my asthma. It's complete exhaustion. And the exhaustion is just what is so heavy. To always be tired. Okay, well, you know what? Your brain, your heart or brain or whatever it is telling you, you know what? If you exercise, you won't be so freaking tired. And excuse me for saying freaking, but you won't be so tired if you moved. But I'm tired, okay? I can't move. So it ends up being a cycle that is never broken, right? And you can, okay, I'm going to break it and just move, But, there's still that tone of judgment, of disease, if you will, that's in the mind, that still has a controlling mechanism over you. That means you're not doing it for what it's supposed to be done for. It's not what you're doing, it's why you are doing it. So no matter what it is you're doing in your life, whether you think it's good or bad, it's why. Truly why you are doing it. So something has really triggered me. I've recently just learned, I ended up getting a blood test done during my yearly physical. And I just saw the results here a year later. It's been a year later that weren't ever, they didn't tell me about. And so I asked about it a couple of weeks ago. Well, they ended up telling me that my cells are not receiving enough oxygen. Well, you know what happens to your cells if they're not receiving enough oxygen? Well, things begin to die. Death, okay? Now, even in our process, through our ascension process, this is going to happen. And it doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Usually, if in order for you to see anything or change anything, you're going to have to experience the opposite. In our ascension process, how heavy things can feel. And it doesn't mean that you aren't doing anything right. It means purification is taking place. So what I was trying to say before my my app ended up stopping again is that oxygen is so essential to the purification process. And exercise can create more oxygen, right? The point of even oxygen. So we take in our breath, of course. We know that, right? We have to breathe. Our heart pumps. So our lungs are working, our heart is working, and our blood changes. So that is actually going to probably even change in your blood work. It's going to show up in your blood work. And something else, my A1C has gone up, and well, the level has gone up, or the level has stayed the same, excuse me, but the way that the doctors now see your A1C, they have changed the point. So the same point that was probably a 5.6 last year, or a couple of years ago, is now a 5.7. So that if you didn't have pre-diabetes last year, you probably would, per their guidelines, have it now. And so it got me watching again, and my eating habits have been pretty good, pretty consistent. And so I've been, well, maybe something is triggering me to have these spikes. Well, I've been, testing it. And this is not, you don't have to do this in your own life, but to figure things out. It's okay to figure things out, and it's okay. But just don't fall for the fact that you are diseased. Because if you feel like you are really diseased, you can lose hope, or you might not do anything about it. Trying to figure things out in your life is okay. Don't get stuck at becoming the victim, is my point. And so I've been testing my blood, not any longer, but I was there for a time period, just trying to get a clue on maybe what foods. Of course, I'm Asian, so I do like eating rice. But I don't eat it often. But, maybe it's something that's spiking my sugar. Well, let's go ahead and let's just check it out. I noticed that it was never really my food. My food was never an issue. It's when I am under stress. And I don't feel like I'm under stress. But the body doesn't lie. Our body, especially through our transformation, is always going to go through that state of, I'm going to say shock, because I can't think of the word right now. To purify it, it has to come out. So the stress hormone and feeling at peace is constantly changing when we are going through our process. And that is my problem. And sometimes we'll sleep, and sometimes we don't get sleep. And I notice that when I don't get enough sleep, that's when my sugar levels, they're not high. They have never been over 140, 144 maybe was the highest. And depending on which doctor you go to, of course, that's probably considered to be pre-diabetic. But if it stays under 140, that's usually the normal range. But the A1C guidelines have definitely risen throughout the last couple of years compared to where it used to be. Thus, pretty much making the entire society at a state of pre-diabetic. And then, here, let's just prescribe some medication. But what can we do about it without taking medication? And that's always been my goal. I know that my lungs would improve. I know. See, I know you see this. I know my lungs would improve with movement. Now, if you were to think back in the day, even when time first began, or even 100 years ago, people moved a whole lot more. Why? They had to move for food. They either had to grow it themselves, or they had to find it themselves. There was a whole lot more movement. And people didn't live so close together where they could have their own their own food, grow their own food, do things for themselves. And that's more activity. Now, although we do have a garden in the summertime, summertime for me is a whole lot more busier than it is in the wintertime. But still, it's not the same. Time is not the same as it once was, where people were moving and traveling greater distances. They always had to move in order to get anything that they want. Now things are just readily available. We can walk probably a couple of blocks, if that, in certain locations, and have anything that we want, right? I know that I am 5 minutes from a local shopping center. I am 5 minutes from a fast food place. Not that I eat fast food, but it's here. We've gotten lazy in mind, lazy in heart, and lazy in body. And that's essential, that the mind, heart, and the body have to be in complete alignment with it. So something that I have been, my older sister, she has lymphoma, T-cell cancer, lymphoma, whatever you call it. Sorry, I've forgotten. Anyway, it's affecting her lymph nodes. T-cell lymphoma, I believe that's what it is. So she's dealing with that. And I know the lymphatic system is highly essential. It's what removes toxins pretty much out of our bodies. And I've been also watching Dr. Pimple Popper, MD, on TV here lately. And she's been talking. The way that she spoke about that, I was like, oh my gosh, of course. And of course, I knew this through my own research. And you can know everything. You can think you know everything, but you don't know a darn thing until it clicks. Like, we know how beneficial exercising is, but until it clicks in your life to create change. Just like 10 years ago. I guess it was 2015, or I don't know. Yeah, almost 10 years ago now. When I first began to exercise, it had to click in me then to get me up. Being immobile, something had to flip. And of course, it was my light switch on my wall that made me decide to do something differently in my life. And that was for, I don't want to say being selfish. For myself, it was necessary. I had to go through that selfishness phase of wanting to look better and feel better in my own skin in order to get where I am today. So there is no right or wrong decision that you are making in your life if you have learned and evolved from it. Remember that. So we know exercising is really good for us, but we don't want to do it because there's a resentment towards it. There is something, it's like being told what to do. Nobody in this world wants to be told to do something. Nobody, whether it's our husband or children. And I'm going to add this real quick. My husband says, how come you don't talk to me like you talk to Sky, which is our granddaughter? In my head, I'm like, well, you know what? You are not a child. You should know better. But that's precisely how we are supposed to handle each individual, as if they're children. Not everybody understands, no matter what it is. We think that you know what? You should know how to clean up after yourself. You should know that if you have a dish and you've used it, that you should pick it up and take it to the sink and more than likely wash it. That you should do more for yourself and for others, just like I'm doing for you. It's common sense, really. But people don't learn that until they're ready to learn that. That's it. And if we treated every single person as if they were a child who doesn't know any better, we would treat them properly. And we would probably do things. And I've been thinking about this, and I know I'm all over the place, and I apologize for that. I've been thinking about this. The difference between now when I am with my granddaughter and I have, assisted in her upbringing, and she'll be 5 here in a couple more months, that it's completely different. I handle her completely different than, of course, that I have handled my son when I was raising him. And it's so hilarious how moms or parents want to have children, and they try so hard, and oh gosh, I just have to have, we have to have kids. And then it gets to a point that because they are so completely exhausted, oh no, now by the time the kid starts to walk and talk, you got to start doing this for yourself. And we all think that it's because we have to train them to be people. You got to start doing for yourself. You got to learn responsibility. You got to learn how to treat people properly, but we wanted to have the kids. You want to have someone to love. That's supposed to be the goal, to have a human or humans to love. Love doesn't give up on people. Love doesn't turn away. Love won't sit there bickering, judging, and saying you are doing this completely wrong. And, whatever. We're teaching, instead of teaching what we think we're teaching our own children to judge. Not just judging others, but judging themselves. They're judging their character now. Well, what's wrong with me that I am not doing this good enough for you? Or that I haven't done this in a timely fashion that you expect me to? Someone who's supposed to love me. What is wrong with me? Every single thing that we are training our kids to be, these beautiful humans, and it doesn't happen to all kids. We know that. We know that very strict parents can have kids who look awesome on the outside. They have everything together on the outside, might be very successful on the outside, but appearances, they can trick us. The appearance can trick us because there's pain. Pain still is present. And then that's how all sorts of addictions or whatever takes place in life. Whether we're addicted to relationships, which means we can't have a steady relationship, but we're always in a relationship. We can turn to alcohol. We can turn to all kinds of abuse. Not exercising. The sky's the limits as to why we do things or don't do things. So I have been, of course, watching how I treat my granddaughter. And yes, I should approach adults the same way. It's called respect. And knowing that not everybody understands everything at the same time. So if you were to hear how I thought about my relationship with my husband was even 5 years ago, and then especially 10 years ago, you would say that I'm stupid to be here in this relationship. And it's something that my mom and I talk about frequently, and her perspective is completely different from my perspective, because my mom is believes that walking away is the answer. And, society as a whole believes that walking away is the answer. But you can walk away from this relationship or any relationship, and the same type of relationship is what you're going to get. So that cycle has to be broken. And I'm not saying you're not going to eventually find somebody who seems awesome. But then what are you learning from that awesomeness? I think a relationship really has to teach you and make you see who you are. Then that makes it a relationship. If you have two people who just are so, extremely happy and things just seem so awesome together, you're like, well, what are you learning and growing? And I'm not saying they aren't, because I have never had one that I can just say, oh my gosh, never mind. I do think my husband and my relationship is awesome, because I am learning something from him every single day. So I do see perfection in this. I do see perfection in our relationship. And other people would probably call me crazy, because you would think that if you're arguing, then it's not a good relationship. But that's not what it means. It means, if two people who don't see eye to eye, of course, we have a discussion. I call it a discussion, and while other people call it arguing, communicating, they call it arguing. Well, we're learning from something. We're learning about the other person and learning about ourselves. And that's what we're supposed to do. So I know I've been all over the place in this video, and I do apologize for that. I'm just a little excited about it. And I guess I need to explain why I'm here making this video. And yeah, throughout the years, things have kind of given me clues here and there. Christy, you probably should be making a video. And it's just like exercising. It got too hard. Exercising in itself is hard, right? When you haven't done it for so long or ever done it, it's difficult. It's difficult, especially for the mind, to make you get there. Every single day, it's hard for the mind to motivate you to get there. It really is. When you always are in that negative aspect of it all. And, dealing with the purification process here, it's really important for us to try to find these words that enlighten us instead of deplete us. So we're being purified. It gets, trying. And so the words that I thought I would have for you guys on a daily basis when I'm receiving things, well, I got it, and it just won't come out. And that became very, very difficult for me. And I didn't want to waste your time in just making videos, just like this one here. It is completely full of nonsense. Really. I'm not talking about anything, yet I'm talking about things where I hope that you can read between the lines and really understand something. And of course, I was hoping to add other things into this video, but this is going to be the lump of my first video back in a long time. So me not making a video, of course, was a part of my path. I had to go through this to see what it truly meant to be of service and to be somebody who is going to be there. I've realized, oh my gosh, and this is really, it's probably going to really hurt me here. Yeah. I've done to you guys unknowingly. I've walked away from you guys because it got too hard. Just like my mom. It's so easy for her to walk away. And I did it to you guys who needed me. And I do truly apologize for that. I've never been anybody who would choose to walk away when things got so tough. But I did here. And I am truly sorry for not seeing what I was doing. I know that it's going to benefit me in understanding this and moving forward. And it's still a part of our learning curve in whatever is happening in your life. And, for me, myself here, the value of what it means to be present and the value of what it means to be of service. Had I not stopped, of course, I may not feel this. Of course I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be present here, which means maybe I wouldn't have grown to understand what it means to really be there for a higher power, for something greater than myself. Because when we are truly deciding to do something, of course, we know that the ego has to be 100% annihilated. We have to really purify the ego to the point that the ego is no longer in control, but that we are honoring something far greater than ourselves. And the same thing that I've learned in the same time frame about what it means to truly exercise and what it means to make these videos for you guys. And again, I don't know if tomorrow will bring another video, but I know now what it means, what this sacrifice means here for something greater than myself. And of course, I've always known that. We know this, but something has to click in order to make it change. Meaning to change ourselves, to be a greater person, and to try harder to be better people. Once our psyche, through the spirit, learns something, it transforms, and then something else can take place internally inside of us, that flow state. Something else that has been holding us back, that's negative, that has been unpurified, is going to transform and change us and move us forward. So if I go back to exercising, and I don't know if I even mentioned this in this video, I've been all over the place. You know, oh yeah, my sister who has T-cell lymphoma. And oh yeah, and Dr. Pimple Popper, MD, she ended up talking about, because somebody had this huge, I don't know, it was this huge thing that grew on their body after he had been hit with a football in the groin area. And then this huge bulge started to develop. And it wasn't a hernia or anything like that, but huge. I mean, huge. Bigger than somebody's head was in his near his groin, and then other areas along his inner thighs. Well, she described it perfectly, that when it's like a waterway, and then you get those, when we get beavers, excuse me, and they come, they build their dam. Your lymphatic system is the same way, that if the lymphatic system gets clogged with impurities, it no longer is flushing out your system. And upon further research, and again, I knew all of this because I've read it. It's been how long? 5 years that I've taken, read about things. But again, it's got to click. It's got to make you go, oh my gosh. That the lymphatic system functions more properly with muscle. Not fat, muscle. So cellulite develops a lot in people who have a poor lymphatic system. And cancers develop. Illnesses develop when your lymphatic system is backed up. So that triggered something, a change in me, awakened me into movement to benefit my life. Not just, I have so many reasons that I can do it. But because I know that the lymphatic system is a waterway through spirit here. Now, I'm thinking more at a spiritual perspective here, not just the physical body. That if the lymphatic system can't purify the toxins, how can the spirit move? How can anything properly work in our bodies? And this goes, for your lungs. The spleen. The spleen is attached to the lymphatic system. So many things go into play. And I know, again, when it comes to my asthma, that if you move a little bit more, exercise a little bit more. And, I'm not saying that I sit. That's not what I'm saying. But being a housewife, a caregiver, working outside, that doesn't make something good. Just because I do move and not just sit all day long, it doesn't mean it's helping me. It doesn't mean it's benefiting me. Even if I worked all day out in the workforce and stood or stocked some things, whatever my occupation could be, it doesn't mean it's enough movement. And even if you were moving, if you don't know why you're moving and for what benefit that you are doing it for, this higher power, you're doing it for yourself. And that means you're just doing it for yourself. You're doing it or just to go through the motions of life. It means that you are still living that, I gotta wake up, move, go to work, come back home mentality. And that's a form of suffering. We're still living in the form of suffering. So I hope this video kind of makes sense and ties things together. And for why I haven't been here and why I am now making today's video. And this is just things that have hit me, this week. And, I've made a few videos throughout the last 6 or so months, but I don't even know if I mentioned it earlier in this video. But because I ended up getting a new phone, I got the Flip 5 or whatever, Z Fold, whatever it is, because I thought it would have a greater screen for me to really do my research on and stuff like that. But I didn't realize that it doesn't have a headphone jack, and that they're doing away with that on most phones. And even the Bluetooth headsets didn't give it a lot of clarity through that. So I am making the video just straight through the phone jack without any headset and things like that. So I really hope that you guys can hear me. And I know it's probably a completely different sound than what it was, a long time ago. But so I've made these videos, but they're still on my phone here because the sound quality is just horrific. I may try to go back one day and see what I was talking about, make some notes, and try to redo them. But of course, the past is the past, so it's only moving forward from here on. But it's been great to make this video, and I hope it benefits you in your life. And I hope to make another one. I really do, because I've been wanting to. Once I got to where I was here recently, I was like, oh, this would be awesome to share. I just have to really do my research, I guess, to get it from my brain out of my mouth, so where you guys can really kind of make sense of things. And it's pretty amazing. Just remember something I really want you to remember, not to give you discouragement, is that we go through these cycles here. It's going to be several times, and I guess I will add that to my next video. It's not one and done. If you still have suffering inside, you are not done. You are not done. A different change that I've seen in myself here recently is not having a reaction to something. And I've had these moments from time to time. But when you can have or not have a reaction to something, when you see something that more than likely would have really triggered you, and you don't have a trigger, when you see it, you're like, I should go say something, blah, blah, blah. But then you realize, you know what? There's no need. When you're talking to yourself about, there's no need. Because sometimes we say, oh, what is the point? No one listens, this, that, and that. You're still not saying it out of a bitterness, which means that the next time something comes up, you probably will still say something, because you haven't learned the value of what peace can do for you. Peace. We're attempting to learn to have peace in our lives, because peace is what heals us, and peace is what makes us love other people. So it's been great making this video. This is Christy. Much love, health, and healing your way. I am bringing purpose to your life.
Take care.